The night was calm until flashing blue lights turned it into a storm. A black man in a tailored suit stood beside a luxury car, his calm face reflecting both pride and pain. To the officers approaching him, he wasn't a CEO, he was just another suspect. Their words cut deeper than their accusations. Dripping with arrogance and disbelief, they asked whose car it was, and when he replied, it was his, laughter followed. Cameras rolled, phones recorded, and within minutes, the story spread: a wealthy black man, humiliated on his own driveway. But what the officers didn't know was that the man they mocked wasn't just powerful, he was unstoppable. Beneath that silence was a fire waiting to erupt, a storm that would soon sweep away the very people who dared to strip him of dignity. Revenge wasn't his intention, but justice was his weapon. His name was Marcus Hale, a man who built his empire from nothing but determination and grit. From sleeping in his car to owning one of the largest tech companies in the city, his story was one of resilience and triumph. But on that night, all his success meant nothing to the officers who saw only his skin. They accused him of stealing the very car registered in his name, ignoring his calm explanations, his ID, even the custom license plate that bore his initials. Neighbors watched in silence, some recording, others whispering. He stood there, humiliated, handcuffed on his own property. The same hands that signed million-dollar deals were now restrained by men who refused to see beyond prejudice. Yet, Marcus said nothing. He simply watched, memorizing every word, every smirk, because he knew this wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning of a reckoning. Marcus spent that night at the station, sitting in a cold cell meant for criminals, not CEOs. He didn't yell or argue, he observed. Every insult, every assumption, every moment of injustice carved itself into his memory. When his lawyer arrived and proved ownership, the officers barely apologized. They released him with forced smiles, calling it a misunderstanding. But Marcus knew better. It wasn't a mistake. It was a mirror reflecting the truth about the world he lived in. The next morning, news channels picked up the footage. Social media exploded. The hashtags trended, voices rose, and questions were asked. How could a man who donated millions to police reform be treated like a thief? The city's mayor called for an internal review, but Marcus didn't wait. Instead, he called a meeting at City Hall, where every official in uniform sat, unaware of what was coming. As he entered, the room fell silent. The same police chief who had defended his officers now avoided eye contact. Marcus placed a file on the table of evidence of repeated discrimination complaints under that chief's watch. All buried, all ignored. His company's legal team had dug deep, and the findings were undeniable. The air grew heavy as he read aloud the names of victims. The cases dismissed, the people silenced. Cameras recorded every word, and by the time he finished, the silence in the room was deafening. Then he turned to the mayor and said calmly, "You wanted accountability, start with the man in charge." The police chief tried to defend himself, but Marcus's evidence was airtight. Within hours, the chief was suspended pending investigation. But the final blow came from Marcus himself. Using his influence and connections, he ensured that justice wasn't just served, it was seen. That night, the same news outlets that once aired his humiliation now played footage of the police chief being escorted out of his office. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply stood before the cameras and said, "Power means nothing if you don't use it to protect what's right." His calm words echoed louder than any shout ever could. The world finally saw not just a black man fighting back, but a leader exposing the system that tried to break him. In the days that followed, the city changed. Officers were retrained, the department restructured, and the public finally began to see the truth behind the badge. Marcus became a symbol of dignity and defiance, a reminder that silence can be stronger than rage when guided by purpose. The police chief's downfall wasn't revenge, it was justice catching up with arrogance. Standing once again beside his car, the same one he was accused of stealing, Marcus looked up at the flashing lights of news cameras, not with bitterness but resolve. He knew his story had become more than a headline. It was a wake-up call. As the wind brushed against his face, he whispered softly, "They tried to take my pride, but I gave them their lesson." And with that, he got into his car, started the engine, and drove forward, leaving behind the past and driving straight into history.